Well, the mics are hot, but the temperatures, well, they're freezing.
Cold and getting colder.
Oh my goodness, Mace.
Snowy and getting snowier.
Yeah. What's Kansas City going to be like?
For the game?
Yeah.
Awesome.
NFLweather.com. I think it's going to be like 57 or something.
It's going to be very similar on game day to what it was in Baltimore last week. I think what I'm seeing right now is a high of 63 degrees and mostly sunny skies. And Baltimore was upper 50s to around 60 with sunny skies. Perfect football weather in Kansas City. Of course, perfect football weather in Baltimore last week, Cease. And the Broncos played a decidedly imperfect game.
Yeah, we're going to get into it today. It is orange and blue today. It's Cecil, Lammey, Andrew Mason. We are in our happy place, and we're happy to talk to you today about how do the Denver Broncos and how does their defense bounce back with a better performance against the Chiefs, Mace?
Well, is it fair to say it would be hard to be worse?
You're not lying.
Yeah. We did talk about this. Teams that have an abundance of skill position weapons that go into pick your poison mode. These have been the ones that have put up huge numbers on the Broncos since Vance Joseph returned as defensive coordinator last year. 70 from Miami, 42 from Detroit last year, 41 from Baltimore this year. Kansas City obviously has Patrick Mahomes. We'll dive much more into him over the stuff we do on Friday and Saturday as well. But skill position wise, they don't cause nearly the same amount of problems. Doesn't mean they can't mess you up. Doesn't mean they can't get on a run like they did against Tampa Bay down the stretch. When they needed drives, when they needed points, they got them. And certainly the addition of DeAndre Hopkins does help things out for them a little bit. But the Broncos should be able to keep the Chiefs under a little bit better control than they did the Ravens last Sunday.
Yeah, keep them under control, and your offense can help this out. But defensively, it's Zach Allen and the double team. Zach talked about it on Monday, I believe, Mace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things of creating spacing for your teammates. We know that Pat Mahomes is super dangerous on the run, and he will run more than Lamar Jackson, maybe, because Lamar didn't choose to run against Denver. He just sliced you up from the pocket. Mahomes can do that, but he can take off to run. So create interior pressure. And if Allen is getting double teamed, I think that's where he needs to maneuver in a way that creates more space for his teammates next to him, whether that's DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, Malcolm Roach, whoever on that defensive line, to create pressure, and then pressure from your edges, of course, with Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, and company.
Now, the question is, you go up against the Chiefs, do you go in with the same thought that you had last week of saying, let's start by taking one thing away? And of course, last week it started with let's take one thing away, and it was the run game. And the Broncos, by and large, took that away in the first half. And then in the second half, the Ravens started grinding them down after the Broncos adjusted. Obviously, the Chiefs don't provide quite the same level of issues there. Kareem Hunt is leading the way for them. He also has an average of 3.7 yards per carry so far this season. He does not have a 20-yard run to his name so far this season. So It's a ground game that lacks the explosiveness. It should take less to render that part of the Chiefs' offense inefficient, which allows you to do some more things, dropping back against the pass. Of course, last week, as Vance Joseph detailed, when he went into what went wrong last Sunday, there were some pretty unique challenges that worked against the Broncos. BJ did meet the media today, and here's what he said looking back on that game plan. Of course, last week he said, stop the run first. They stopped the run in the first half, and then Lamar Jackson diced them up. Well, here's Vance Joseph looking back at last Sunday.
It was a different kind of game for us. Obviously, the run game was our first priority to get stopped, and I thought we did that. But in the past game, it was more max protection stuff. It was majority 2 and 3 man routes. So to pressure that protection wouldn't make sense for us. Now we're pressuring a max protection and we're playing man coverage. Doesn't make sense. So when teams are maxing you up and running 2 and 3 man routes, you're forced to play coverage, right? That's the way you go with that. And in some of our coverages, it wasn't exact enough. You know, he bought some time, obviously, but they made some plays in coverage, which I didn't expect them to do. But the run game was the priority. That was contained, but the pass game was not. Wasn't good enough.
Very honest from BJ. I liked his comments today because, he fell on the sword. He had to.
Yeah. Of course, also ran more zone coverage than he'd run all year.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work well. Wasn't good enough, as he would say.
Back to man.
Back to man. Back to man. And, by the way, this is a game where you want to get pressure without blitzing because Patrick Mahomes destroys the blitz.
Yep.
And he has basically since he stepped into the starting lineup for the first time.
From his first game on, you do not blitz Pat Mahomes.
He'll not
kill
blitz
you.
Like
not at all.
If you can't get home with 4, you're just not getting home on him. But here's the thing. With 4, it's not simply about rush and getting to him. It's also about contain. That's something you've heard a lot in the locker room. Heard it from Malcolm Roach. Heard it from Jonah Ellis today. Contain. Keep him from getting outside. He does have a unique feel for the pass rush. Probably him and Lamar Jackson are the two guys with the best feel for the rush and ability to move around. But this is don't get caught wide and behind him if you're coming off the edge. Keep yourself in position to keep him contained, keep him corralled. And then if you do have more man coverage, and I expect more man coverage in this game, then you trust your guys on the back end to do their work.
Yep. Have good eyes against him because, Mace, you've seen it a million times with this guy. It's not just the no-look pass. It's the awkward body angles because you'll think, like, there's no way he can get that pass off, and he does that baseball sidearm.
Mm-hmm.
He can do off-platform better than perhaps any quarterback in NFL history. So as a defender, it's not just body position of, like, there's no way he can make that throw at that position. Yeah, there is. He can make that throw when you're, almost sacking him and he's going down and he'll make that throw.
Playing shortstop can be the best training for being a quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because of all the off-balance, off-platform throws you have to make defensively growing up. And Patrick Mahomes was a multi-sport guy growing up. That's another thing. I hate specialization for kids.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
You got to work different parts of your body, and other sports will help you out. Why do tight ends play basketball? Because it helps you out.
Yeah. Tom Glavine, Hall of Fame picture for the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets. He played hockey. Played baseball in the spring and summer. He played hockey in the winter. He was actually drafted in the NHL by the Los Angeles Kings.
Wow.
But chose baseball instead. It's all-around skill sets help you. I mean, I love it when you hear about a guy who played, like a quarterback who played baseball. I do think that there is something special that you get as a quarterback when you play baseball, and specifically you play an infield position. It's the ability to make those off-balance throws. Like there are tools that Mahomes has in his bag that a lot of quarterbacks just do not. And it's because he had a different kind of training growing up than if you just go and, play quarterback and then you go to QB schools and that sort of thing. So it's the ability to go beyond.
Yes.
Beyond structure, beyond design. That's what Patrick Mahomes has.
Yeah. Yeah. And Vance Joseph talked about defending Mahomes. You want to set this up or you want me to play the clip?
Play the clip. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but here's the thing though. The Chiefs, it comes down to this. The Chiefs are doing better as Mahomes is doing less. What does he mean by that? It's a very long and expansive answer from Vance Joseph. Let's play that now.
I think as their team has evolved, he's evolved, right? I mean, he is doing less, and they're winning more. You know, it's the NFL. You know, once you pay your quarterback, it's tough to keep a lot of great players around him. They've drafted well on defense. They've drafted well on offense. So it's the new NFL. You know, once you pay that guy, I mean, he has to make you better, obviously, in a lot of spots. But, you know, he has to obviously, you know, play winning football. That's what he's doing. I mean, it's kind of special to watch, right? He's doing a lot less, but they're winning more. You know, for a quarterback, man, that's hard to convince them to do that, first of all. But he's doing it. You know, it's a lot of close games. But when you watch the games, he can boat race you, you know, when he has to. But he's being good with the football, not giving the football away. But it's a team philosophy, and it's working for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He just threw his first touchdown pass in October in the last game he could in October. So it's not like Mahomes has been balling out, but they add DeAndre Hopkins, and it seems like that's clicking now. You don't want to keep that clicking. Travis Kelce has come alive as Mahomes, and a lot of banged up, a lot of injuries and stuff, all that, Hollywood, Rushy Rice, all that kind of stuff. But they're figuring it out. And Hunt's doing enough. You mentioned his yards per carry, which isn't great, Bob, and then not having to carry over 20 yards. It's just a lot of like chip away, chip away. This isn't the young Kareem Hunt that led the league in rushing. This is just a Kareem Hunt that gets a lot of work, while, of course, Isaiah Pacheco's on the mend. Plus, our old pal Samaje Perine. If I'm Andy Reid, I'm running a wheel route. Gotta do it again, Mace.
Samaje's revenge.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Well, isn't he kind of really perfect for that sort of just like catch it in the flat type of role?
He's kind of playing the Jerick McKinnon role, really.
Yeah. Which is odd because he's such a large back.
Yeah, but he's good. But we saw this last year. He's good in space catching the football. That was part of his unique value on third down. The other thing, like as far as asking Mahomes to do less and the Chiefs winning more, and kind of the allocation of resources that they have cap-wise that Vance Joseph referred to. The key moment to me in the evolution of the Chiefs was their loss to Tampa Bay back in Super Bowl 55. Because that was the game where their offensive line, which had some injuries, but it was battered. It struggled mightily. You could argue Shaq Barrett should have been the MVP of that game because of how he helped wreak havoc. But Patrick Mahomes wasn't well protected and was running for his life. And ultimately, the Chiefs came to the realization, if we're going to work this around Patrick Mahomes, where do we spend around Mahomes? It's not on skill players. It's on protecting him. Thus, Tyreek Hill is a Miami Dolphin. If you look at the Chiefs' contracts, their cap numbers for this year, okay? They have, beyond Mahomes, they have 4 other players with cap figures of more than $8 million. Joe Thuney and Jawan Taylor are 2 of them. Offensive line, right?
Yep.
Creed Humphrey does not have a big cap number this year. He will in the future.
Yes.
He will.
Cap number's not there yet.
Yes. But there's their other huge investment. So it's offensive line. It's one target for Mahomes. And it's Travis Kelce. And you choose Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. I think they chose wisely with Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
And I am quite curious to see how the Chiefs' offense evolves if you don't have a Hall of Fame tight end out there. That's a question that probably is going to be staring the Chiefs in the face at some point in the next 24 months, I would imagine.
Yep. And Noah Gray's nice. Remember him from the All-Star road trip. Jared Wiley has an ACL injury, which made me very sad, Mace. But that's going to be different because it's a more rare skill set. No offense to Tyreek Hill,
Mhm.
who is fast and dangerous and everything, but like a tight end like that is arguably the best tight end of all time. They made the right choice.
I mean, let me ask you this, Cease. Next year's a good tight end class. We're going to probably do a lot of shows on the tight ends coming up in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
What's more important to find? I mean, the Broncos need playmakers, but what's more important? What's harder to find? That wide receiver one or that tight end? Now, to me, I say find a way to get both. Find a way to get your wide receiver in round 1 and your tight end in round 2, or vice versa. Joe, I was joking about this, but get George Payton out to Como, Columbia, Missouri, to go watch Luther Burden on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
You need both.
Yeah,
but tight ends are harder to find. And hey, look how many swings the Broncos have taken at tight end. But you still have to keep swinging. You can't just give up on that.
No,
because the right tight end creates matchup problems. Again, look at Baltimore. I mean, one of the reasons why Baltimore's receivers did what they did was because the Broncos were focused on the tight ends, understandably so.
And they contained them.
Yes. But Baltimore's receivers had a field day. Mm-hmm. And if you're Devin Key, you can't miss a potential tackle on Zay Flowers, but that hopefully won't be an issue this week because PJ Locke practiced each of the last 2 days and was full practice today. So right.
And the chat room was asking about PJ Locke, so we'll talk about that. And
PJ's in good shape.
Look at PJ Locke and look at Audric Estime there. Sean Payton maybe letting the cat out of the bag, Mace, on Monday when he was like asked about, would you see more Estime? I think my answer is yes. Okay, Sean. Not to give everything. Don't be like Vance Joseph and give away your game plan. But is Audric Estime the answer? I mean, I just don't want him to fumble, man. I don't want to fumble. I'm super worried.
He's one fumble away from going into the phantom zone for running backs.
He's one fumble away from getting cut. I mean, he's a 5th-round pick.
And I say one fumble now. Now, if he goes out there and has a couple of 100-yard games and then he fumbles 3 games down the line, that's different because he would have 2 big games and 2 big games without a fumble. But until he has that level of production, he can't afford to be putting the ball on the ground. Otherwise, you're not going to get trusted. So that's why after the most recent fumble, Javonte Williams had him carrying the football around. And that was something I had a chance to talk about with him when I chatted with him yesterday in one of the little small media scrums. Here is Audric Estime talking about carrying a football around the facility.
I think so, because when I was walking around the facility, I'll just be eating and I hold it and someone will come punch me. So it just kind of made me have some muscle memory whenever I'm coming next to someone or I'm entering contact to make sure I squeeze onto it. So I think it helped.
Did anyone get it out when they tried to punch you?
No one got it out. I had to make sure.
How many guys kind of did that?
It was like everyone, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. Every time I walked past someone, I expected it. So no one got it out though.
Muscle memory at the lunch table.
Yes. The sense of pride. Look at the smile on his face at the end. When he said it for a second time, no one got it out.
Nobody got it out.
He was legit proud of that accomplishment, even though it was just walking around the building. But doesn't surprise me though. He's you can see that, and you probably see that in the previous chats that we've shown with Audric Estime. I mean, he's one of those dudes you do root for. He's smart. You can see, the guy has a winning personality to him. He has a winning work ethic to him. Now it's, can you get it done? Get the most important thing done. Protect the ball. Ball security is job security if you're a running back.
Yep.
And perhaps one thing that's helped him is everybody else put the ball on the ground, not at the same rate, but Jaleel McLaughlin put the ball on the ground. Javonte Williams put the ball on the ground. Tyler Bidet put the ball on the ground. Unfortunately, in the process of the ball going on the ground, he had an injury that still keeps him out. Still not practicing just yet. He's not practicing. Josh Reynolds not practicing. They're off on the side field kind of doing their thing. One thing is interesting to consider, though, is you got Luke Wattenberg, who is up to full practice, and he's been designated for return from IR. Luke Wattenberg is number 5. If Josh Reynolds and Tyler Bidet go from injured reserve to the 53, that's 6 and 7. You only have 8 players you can recall from injured reserve in a season. So do wonder what kind of choices the Broncos are going to make on that.
Right. And I think that's where the wins come in. Like, if you win, then all right, Bidet, we could take a little slower or whatever, and everyone's going to be safe. But if you're losing, I mean, it's time for Donald Parham. It's time for Blake Watson. It's time for A.T. Perry. You know, I don't think it's time yet, Mace. But if they lose and continue to lose against the Falcons, like, you're going to try whatever to get this thing back on track.
Or another thing to go with Audric Estime specifically. If he fumbles, you probably have to bring Bidet back.
Yep.
No matter what. Like, it's like, okay, get him ready.
Yep.
I mean, you used an elevation from injured reserve or a designation for return from injured reserve on Estime earlier this season. That's one I wonder if they look back on that and maybe wish they could have had that one back to not put him on IR and just have him be inactive for those weeks. You know, they're usually pretty good at playing the roster manipulation game. That might have been one where I think they missed.
Yeah. And it happens, especially if it's early. You got to make a decision with kind of a long view that you don't know yet how it's going to work out. But run the ball against Kansas City. It's not just about keeping Mahomes cold on the sidelines, Mace. It's just about helping Bo. Like, how about Bo? They need playmakers. If you're moving the chains with the ground game, that'll just set up your playmakers. You know, people ask me about, like, play action passing. We're not going to play action pass if you're not going to run. Nobody's going to bite on the play. I go, play action all day. We know you're not going to run. And if you do, it's not going to be good.
And you've got to do things that create that second of hesitation there from a defense that if you can't do that to, they're going to shut you down. They're going to shut you down up front. They're going to shut you down at the back end. I think there's a legit argument. This is the best defense that Bo Nix has faced to this point in his career.
Yep.
Probably a tick better than what we saw from Pittsburgh back in week 2.
Yep. If you talk overall defense, you can't rush the passer as good as Pittsburgh, but they also have now Josh Uche.
Yeah.
So that'll help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, putting him up there with Chris Jones doing his thing up front. Another guy that they paid, that they prioritize. I mean, man, the thing with the Chiefs is, from the Broncos' perspective, it does have to be kind of frustrating because it does seem like they make pretty much all the right decisions in team building around Patrick Mahomes. Who to keep, who to part ways with.
It's Brett Veach, man.
Yeah, Brett Veach knew when to part ways with Tyreek Hill, and they got more draft capital. This is, they're the opposite of Sean Payton and the Broncos when it comes to comp picks. They load up on those comp picks. So they have volume of draft picks, which means if you've got a high volume of picks, you don't have to hit on all of them. You can miss. Like, okay, you have a bunch of different guys. Not all of them have to hit. Like, an example of how the Broncos benefit from volume in the draft is over the years how many edge rushers they've taken, especially on day 2 of the draft. They took on day 2 Baron Browning. They took Nick Bonito. This past year they took Jonah Ellis. Well, Browning didn't end up working out despite the flashes, but Nick Bonito looks like he's working out. Jonah Ellis, too early to tell, but the signs are encouraging. But either way, that, and then you took a flyer in the 7th round on Jonathan Cooper because of the heart condition. Of course, he had mid-round talent. If you throw darts at the board knowing that not all of them are going to connect, but enough do. I mean, it's the genius of Ozzie Newsome, who I know is somebody you think highly of. I think highly of. In my opinion, the best general manager of the 21st century when he was running the Baltimore Ravens. And, how many times they take advantage of the volume of picks that they had, knowing, okay, well, we're going to miss on this guy, but we'll get another one, right?
Right.
It's what Brett Veach is doing right now. It's paying off big time.
Well, look at how they always taken 2 tight ends in Baltimore. Remember Dennis Pitta and Ed Dixon?
Yes.
And then Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst?
Same year. Hayden Hurst was the 1st round pick.
Yes. And people think, well, why would you take another one? Not all of them are going to hit.
Next year is your year for the Broncos to take 2 tight ends, in my opinion.
I think it's great. It's a great surplus,
Yeah.
man. Go for it.
And your roster, while it still needs work, your roster is reaching a point where you can go heavy on certain positions next year that have value. And tight end, I mean, this is my favorite tight end class in a long, long time, Cease. I don't know about you.
We'll be ground floor watching them all, man.
I'm drooling watching some of these guys already.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So guess what we're going to be doing? And what we're going to be talking about.
I will say I do have a favorite.
Okay. Leave it. Save it.
Okay. All right. If you follow me on social, you've seen me mention this guy once or twice this year already. So that's the hint of who my favorite one is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like savoring the flavor, right?
Yeah.
And go on the road trip and just kind of like, okay, let's see what these guys can do, right? Because favorite on film and favorite in person can change.
Yeah.
Remember how I was like excited about Jaron Hall at the Senior Bowl, and then the first day we saw him, I was like, oh God, that's not good. It's not good at all.
But you also don't want to judge too much on that first day, because if we judged only on that first day, Bo Nix would have, it's like, no, but Bo Nix got settled in as well as he could, despite being in a practice that didn't do 7-on-7. Yep. Josh Allen missing the target on his first day. By day 3, he was dropping dimes.
Yep. He was razor sharp.
Oh gosh, how you didn't see that progress. God.
Right. And you were coaching him. Vance Joseph, you were coaching him.
It wasn't VJ.
It was Elway.
Let's make it clear. Do not blame VJ for this team not taking Josh Allen. That wasn't him.
VJ didn't have any power as head coach. Sorry, VJ.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he would have taken Josh Allen. They've been up to him.
It'd be nice. Look at our buddy Jake Shapiro in here.
Hey, Jake.
Abs.
By the way, the response we played from VJ today, talking about Mahomes and team building and all that, did that not sound like a guy who's ready to be a head coach again?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's thinking big picture.
Oh yeah,
I heard that and I thought he understands team building. I do think whoever gets him as a head coach is going to get a real good head coach in the second go around.
And the second go around's fine. Belichick wasn't the same in his first go around. You know, second go around, you learn some stuff, you apply it, you know.
I'll tell you where I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up.
New Orleans. Would they go defensive coach and defensive coach? That's the only thing. Like,
it would be Sean. It'd be Sean giving the recommendation and Mickey Loomis. Like, hey, this guy's ready.
Because they're stuck with their car. Like they can't, pull the plug and then let's go get the young quarterback. Like, you got to have a veteran presence. You got no cap at all. You signed Alvin Kamara for whatever reason.
I mean, I hate to kind of put this in a terms that may cause everyone to chuckle, but their best play may be just hanging on with Carr for the next couple of years and then waiting out the local hero, and then bringing Arch Manning, having Archie's grandson lead the Saints. That may be the play. The one thing though, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if VJ ends up in New Orleans, but that is such a disaster right now. If I were him, I wouldn't take the job with anything less than a 5-year contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, write it out.
Because that's going to be 3 years before you can start getting that going. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right. All right, Mace. How you feeling about today's show? We wrapping? What are we doing? What's going on here?
Feeling pretty good. We got more to chop up on Friday and Saturday.
Whew, boy, do
we got to get more into Mahomes. We got to get more into playing the contain game on him.
Yep.
This is tough. If the Broncos win this game, it's going to be like 17-10.
Yep.
This ain't going to be pretty, but I think they got a real shot. I'll tell you what, I like the demeanor in the locker room this week. I like what Mike McGlinchey said. We'll play this comment on either the Friday or the Saturday show about, hey, we're not here to play spoiler. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Look, just because they lost 41-10 doesn't mean this team isn't a playoff contender. It is. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but to be a playoff team, absolutely, it's there. It's in their hands. They could get a nice assist on Thursday night if the Ravens take care of the Bengals. Any losses that the Bengals can take, I think, really help the Broncos, because at some point, I think the Bengals are going to put things together enough to make it interesting. Any loss that they can take helps, because realistically, I think the Broncos they could get there with the right 9 wins, 10. I think if they had 10 wins, I think you put them in Sharpie in the postseason. They can get there with the right 9 wins. One of them would probably have to be over Cincinnati. But you don't want to have to win at whatever it's called now. I called it Paul Brown Stadium, but it's got some, Paycor
sponsorship now.
It's like which one is Paycor and which one is Acrisure? I don't know, but I know where Paul Brown Stadium is. I know where Heinz Field is.
Yes. Yep. Don't get me started on corporations, Mace. That's for a different podcast.
You and I could do that one.
We could do it nice.
We are, yeah. We're kind of like mind on the corporation thing.
Kindred spirits, I should say, right?
Yes.
All right. Let's wrap up this thing. And this is like super serious. If you're hanging on, we seriously need your help. Because about 48% of you that watch are not yet subscribed. So please, we need your help in growing the YouTube channel. So please subscribe. But Mace, let's give them the old rundown since people love that. How do you help us out on YouTube?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never
miss
vid.
That's right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty,